could you please explain to us the term neurodivergent?
Neurodivergent, sure. I don't know when the term, like who coined it or anything like that, but I feel like it really started gaining some traction in the late 2010s. And I started hearing it more then. Neurodivergent is an umbrella label that includes people who are not what are called neurotypical people. So neurodivergent people can include a whole spectrum of people with various diagnoses, including PTSD, CPTSD, which is chronic PTSD or complex PTSD, people with attention deficit disorder or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, autism along the spectrum, which autism itself has been sort of re-envisioned for the DSM at least into different categories. Schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, dyslexia and dysgraphia. There are other diagnoses that might fall under the term. And so neurodivergent is just a way for people to talk about the fact that, at least in terms of how our society operates today, we have disabilities. I am a neurodivergent person. And depression can actually also fall under the category. It's a way of being able to express to people that our brains are literally wired differently than a neurotypical brain. And some of us, as we heal through our journeys, find that to be a superpower, but it can also be complex at times. Did that answer the question? Was there more?
Having worked with neurodivergent students, I immediately understand there's a different, I don't even want to say a different way. I'm just more aware of eye contact and behaviors, and I address those in ways that are, I don't even want to say different. I guess my bottom line is, I think if everyone treated everyone as being a unique individual who deserves your time and your patience and your understanding, then there wouldn't be a need for labeling neurodivergent individuals. Does that make any sense at all?
Yeah. There are pros and cons to labels, right?
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
Sometimes it's really helpful and sometimes it can be used as a weapon against other people, which is obviously not the thing that we're going for. We want it to be a way that helps us understand how best to serve or to be in relationship with other people. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Well, I can't really pronounce the label that you were talking about. But I will tell you that I've got a piece of every bit of it.
Okay. Neurodivergence?
Yeah, I've got it. Yeah, I've got that seed. Also on the other side of that, the people that don't have it, I've got some of those too. And I'm not really proud to tell you this, but I've rubbed shoulders with millionaires and I've lived among the homeless. And I have a way of being able to see the joy and the good of people. And I'm proud of my past from that, even though it didn't serve a lot of other people well. I made amends the best I could. And I came from the Unity Church. And I came here not because I wanted to, but because I followed my lovely wife. She went to the Unitarian Universalist Church in Louisville, and I didn't get a lot out of that, but I do here. And but the reason why I stayed and the reason why I joined it is because I kind of looked around and realized all these people are accepting me for all my little quinks and quirks. And because I'm accepted with all my wrinkles, I feel the least I can do is accept everybody else's.
Gretchen.
I hope you can hear me, my scratchy voice. Something that has always troubled me. We believe in one of the original principles in the inherent worth and dignity of every person. How do we do that with someone who is truly evil?
Yeah, yes, that's a great question. And we all know that I consume pretty large amounts of media. And I just started watching The Walking Dead and a couple of weeks ago, and I'm at a place where I'm pondering that question myself. So one way that we normally parse the inherent worth and dignity of every person is by saying that in our personhood, in our embodiment, we all have inherent worth and dignity, but we separate out our behaviors. And so people in their own personhood may have inherent worth and dignity, but their behaviors may not reflect that inherent worth and dignity. And also going to our seventh principle, that interconnected web of which we are all a part. So that's probably one way that I would start to explore answering that question, but I feel like that one needs a whole service. Thank you for the question.
As far as the evil thing goes, when I sense evil, I distance myself. And I do that for self-preservation purposes, because every time I've got too close, somehow or another, I got burned. Mm-hmm. And it takes my joy. And when you don't have joy, you can't give it.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Yeah. Thank you, Dale.
I was really intrigued last week when you were talking about youth and how the General Assembly is now assembling a committee, which is something we do really well, a task force committee, in order to figure out how to bring youth back to our congregations, and part of it, of course, is marketing, going out there, but a big part of it is making the soil of our congregations nurturing places for younger people, because we do occasionally, even here, get younger people, but how do we make a place like this a nurturing environment for, and it goes even with neurodivergency for all kinds of people, including people who are not necessarily in the demographic that we often see.
Dale, do you have an answer? Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. So I will say one of the things that I think is going to be a challenge, a bit of a hurdle for this congregation is the 9 o'clock hour. I know it is a challenge for some of you too. I know. But I do think that is part of it. And part of it is younger people. So there's a few things that are going on, I think. But we actually talked about this a little the other day, and it is something I've been noodling on. So one of the things that has been reported on by at least a couple of outlets is that folks who are Generation Z are interested in attending church, but they're highly skeptical of attending congregations, being parts of congregations, being parts of churches, because of great affinity for Trump. And so they don't necessarily know to look for congregations that don't support the current president. So that's one thing. Another thing that is complicated is that very rudely at our last joint board meeting, Igor pointed out that I was midlife now, which is I just looked at him with aghast. But people who are more in my age range and younger, there's a lot of other things that are going on, including complexity regarding work and home and a lot of other things, but work is definitely a big thing. I will say, before I landed in ministry, I worked in a number of different jobs. My sister actually was really steady. She's still at the same place. She is, I feel like, a great exception to the trends that we see of people who are in even Gen X, millennials and younger, where there's a lot of turnover. We're constantly leaving our positions because we're getting treated like trash. We get treated like we're expendable. And so we say, peace out, y'all, because we can, right? It's like the job's treating us like we're expendable. So why would we stay and support that? And so there's a lot of turnover in different positions. I worked in a number of positions myself. And my dad, bless him, he worked for one company, retired from the same company. He worked at a few different companies when he was younger, but he retired from one company after more than 30 years. And he had so much trouble understanding what I was going through because it did not make sense to him from the world that he had lived in. And the world is just different. And so one of the things that is really helpful for supporting younger people is they're looking for belonging. They're looking for community, which this congregation is going to have in spades. The one thing that I would say that would be helpful to pay attention to is how we can support people. Also, people in this age group are sort of what's called the sandwich generation, where people are supporting not only their children and sometimes grandchildren and others, but also their parents and elders. So there's just a lot of things that are going on, and it gets hard. And so one of the things that's really important is that people who are looking for that sense of belonging and community and feeling like they're seen and supported in those struggles when they arrive. So that would be the thing that I would focus on.
Somebody online asks, what do you believe about a creator being?
One of my favorite questions, because the answer is, it depends. Which I say a lot when people ask, what do you believe about? And I'm like, well, it depends. It depends. Some people believe in a creator being. Some people absolutely do not. Probably everywhere in between. We certainly have Hindu Unitarian Universalists who may believe in a sort of pantheon of gods that created the universe. So it depends. And for fun, there's no right answer. Mary.
Could you explain the difference between religion and spirituality? And are they interchangeable? And how does that fit in with, we don't have to think alike to love alike principle?
Starting with the middle question, they are not interchangeable as far as I'm concerned. My easiest, simplest answer for spirituality versus religion is spirituality is what you do, and religion is what you do with other people. That's the core for me. How does that fit into we need not think alike to love alike? Which is not my favorite quote. But I would say it really speaks mostly to the religion. Although Unitarian Universalists usually have at least one opinion about everything. Sometimes we have more than one, if you know what I mean. So being in relationship with others is that, we don't have to have the same thoughts about things to be holding love at the center, language that we're trying to use these days, and in our relationships with one another. Is that kinda? Is there more? Do you want to ask more?
I think when people talk about religion, if somebody asks, what religion are you? They ask because when you give that answer, it gives them some idea of what your belief system is. So, it seems like, but maybe there are two different definitions of religion. Like you said, one in theory, one in practice, and what you do with other people. I just kind of question whether or not religion is a correct label when everyone has different beliefs. So Is that making sense?
Yeah. So why is Unitarian Universalism a religion?
Yes. Thank you.
Yes. So, we got asked this question at the TriUU class in the springtime, and I got really up in my stuff, I guess, about it. Part of what religion does is pass down traditions and stories and questions of importance that are eternal that we pass from generation to generation. And honestly, one of the things that I would say is a hallmark of being a religion is that we ordain clergy, right? We've come together and made a decision, not you specifically, but you as a congregation, you have ordained ministers. Other congregations ordained me. That the congregations came together and made a decision that this person is meant to minister to us, right? And then we send them out into the world and hopefully they minister other places and do a good job. But we have made that decision as a people, and to ordain clergy is a very specific thing, right? And in our denomination, I don't know that other faiths do this, but in our faith tradition, congregations are the only body that can ordain a minister, right? I have to go and I had to interview and do all this stuff to become a minister, go to seminary, I had to do an internship, I had to do clinical pastoral education, I had to do all these different things. But the only body in our faith that can ordain a minister is the congregation. Religion is what happens in our coming together. It is communal. It is the texts, rituals, beliefs that hold people together. Religion lasts beyond a lifetime, passes wisdom through generations, provides a framework for morals and ethics, and shapes our worldviews. It's a brief definition, but which I think works for a quirky faith like us.
When you were talking about religion and spirituality a few minutes ago, one of the things that popped in my head is one difference between us and some other religions, if you want to call it, is that number one, nobody from a pie tells Reverend Christina what she needs to talk about. Okay, that's one thing. And the other thing is we, as a congregation, have the right and responsibility. If she's talking about something that doesn't fit for us, we can within ourselves say, hey, she's not God, or she doesn't necessarily have the word of God, that if it doesn't fit for me, you don't have to take what she's saying as the truth with a capital T.